Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this. That's right. We have a lovely little high-pass filter going on here. But it's not just any high-pass filter. It's a weird high-pass filter. Because this is XHighpass, much like XLowpass was before it. And you can make it act fairly normally, like this. It's based on biquad filters, but it's the same thing as XLowpass in that the biquad filters have a distortion factor built into them. But when you distort a high pass, a strange thing happens. It gets a little wacky. Here, let's show you what this looks like. You can see that's being done by putting gain into it. And it can be used to, let's say, let's bring that just down to only the kick. If we boost this, we can get a sort of weird additional twerp onto the beginning of the attack of it. Although we're hearing it almost as much on the snare, frankly. But we can change that because we still have that nuke control. Let's bring everything back. So the whole idea with this was that the EMU high-pass filters are said to be a lot more aggressive when you sweep them right up again. This is not an EMU high-pass filter, but it is the XHighpass filter, which is what I was able to do with it when twisting it out and doing strange, ugly things with it. And it works much the same as the previous filters in that we have the nuke control, which gives you 1 to 5 stages of this. Unlike the low pass, the way it catches stuff is it doesn't get that much crazier when you go way up into the nuke. But it will give you a steeper filter, and in some ways it makes it go kind of crazier. Here is a nuke of basically 0. And we can get real aggressive and nasty by playing with it in that way. Sorry about that, by the way, that must have hurt. But often some of us want to get ugly when we're playing with messy filters and making them do crazy things. And of course you can dial it back and make it do something else. Over here, one thing we could fire up this bass, which is going to be a fairly consistent sound as it goes. And here's what we get when we start fooling with that. And you can hear that we can get something interesting out of it. That there is that additional aggression up in the bright areas. And we can dial in sort of an additional gnarliness to it. So you could do one of your drum and bassy things of having something come in as very bright. And then drop down to where it's extremely aggressive. Now, one thing you should know about this is the way that it basically works. You're not going to be able to roll the frequency down to 0 and have it behave itself, because it will tend to trigger on bass transients. And when I say trigger on bass transients, I mean this kind of stuff. And we can hear that on the drums here. Even at a fairly low nuke setting, and with frequency all the way down, particularly on that snare, which is a loud hit, it's gonna be freaking out a little bit. Oh, there's kind of an electro quality to it. And again, we swoop it down. And that's your XHighpass for you. That's the basic gist of that. So, let's see. Back to our main camera. XHighpass is a audio unit, Windows, Mac, and Linux VST. And it is free. It's the process of some further work that I'm doing, because I'm going to see whether I can't get into this crazy sampler digital filter stuff, the classic 90s stuff that people are into. And all of this is supported by my Patreon, as you know. Oh, and one more thing, or like 15, 16, 17 more things. I have a new load of Mac M1 VSTs to upload. They're not all done. I wanted them all to all be done, and then my health kind of broke down because I can't tolerate the amount of coffee that would require for me to have them all done by today. But I'm about a little more than halfway done. So if you're interested in the M1 compiles or modern VST compiles with a modern Xcode for Macintoshes. And again, that's going to be Macintoshes native for M1 VST. Or if you're maybe having problems with the traditional Mac VST build, this is an alternate compile of that build. So might possibly behave differently. In any case, it's available to you. They are all dual binary, meaning that they will have the modern Intel version compile built in. And there's a lot to keep track of doing all of these, and there are hundreds of them to do. So, like I said, I'm not quite done. But if you're interested in the M1 versions of the VSTs, it's probably not that long before those are all recompiled, and then I'll be overhauling the entire website. And they'll be organized in such a way where when you download a plugin, a new plugin, it will have the 64-bit Windows, the Linux, and the modern AU and VST for Mac, both of which will be a little DMG file inside the zip. And then there's going to be a folder marked retro, and that'll have the 32-bit Windows and the original compiles of the Mac AU that goes all the way back to PowerPC machines, G4s and G5s, you know, and the original version of the Mac VSTs, same deal. And one change I'm also going to make is that we're going to have, instead of new updates is going to point to about 5 or 6 newer downloads, because all of the different versions of the plugins are going to have their own downloads now. Like there'll be a zip file for all the 32-bit Windows, a zip file for all the 64-bit Windows, a zip file for all the Linux VSTs and so on, and the zip file for the AUs will be the retro AUs that are like PPC 32-bit and 64-bit, whereas there'll be a possibly zipped, but there'll be a DMG file, and that will be the collection of all the modern Mac compiles. In any case, there's hundreds of plugins, and I got a lot of work to do, and I'm busy doing it. With any kind of luck, I can keep these weird little filters coming along. And yeah, it'll be nice when I'm done with all of this heavy work, with all of this recompiling and stuff. But until that day, I will, I guess, keep plugging away, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.